To Sunrise Daily, we'll be talking about the resumption of the 10th National Assembly. Today is the day where they will all resume, but there are some undercurrents concerning what is playing out, what is expected of them, how they intend to work with the executive to deliver for Nigerians. That's why they were elected in the first place. So we do have Honourable Aneka Numana, who is a member of the 9th Assembly. He was there at the time, so he joins us virtually this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program.
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning, Chamberlain, and Mark, good morning, viewers.
Yeah, so we see here that, yes, they will be reconvening today, but it does appear as though the PDP, of which you're a member, seems to be cautioning the President of the Senate about unveiling a certain fake list for principal officers, because the party says they are yet to meet and decide on what part to take on this matter, just as all of that continues. So what do you know about what's going on concerning this back and forth? Because we know, I mean, you're a politician, so you will play your politics.
Yes, thank you very much once again, Chamberlain. Clearly, it's about leadership politicking, and of course, the parties will play their roles, and the leadership will also play their part. I guess the brinkmanship is going on, and I'm sure at some point that will be resolved.
Now, in the event that, because I mean, for dailies, several people to have published this, you know what they say about no smoke without fire. Can they, if assuming, without conceding that this can happen or it is possible, in the event that this kind of thing even plays out, how do parties approach it?
Well, we've seen it happen before, and it's not exactly too new. The various parties have internal mechanisms of handling such things, and I think it's more about the relationships and about the politicking in getting things done the way it will favor each party that's holding either the majority or the minority position.
How do you mean it's happened before? They publish a fake list of principal officers from the opposing political party?
No, not fake list. The experience I had was that we had a situation where members of the minorities came together and signed a document nominating or electing, so to speak, who they wanted. And of course, in that case, the speaker, then the then speaker and current chief of staff, the Right Honourable Femi Gbajàbíàmílà, announced what was contained in the list with signatures of members from the various minority parties who came together. That's what we saw. That's why I said I've seen that happen before. But again, the political parties could also work this out with the leadership. So clearly, it's something that they can work around.
And as things stand today, in terms of the political parties, the opposition getting themselves together, since it's so diverse, how do you see that playing out? You see them coming together, speaking with one voice, or what? Because there's several new people in the House.
It's always a very difficult thing, and particularly in this instance where you have more than 290 new members and so on. So it's very easy to whip people together from various parties. It's not like when it was just a matter of PDP, APC, or APC, PDP. Now you have a good number from Labour and from other parties here and there, from NNPP, all coming together. So it's not going to be what it used to be, because various interests will come to play in this instance. So it will all depend on how the leadership intends to manage this and how the political parties also interface with the leadership to ensure that things get done the way they ought to be done.
A beautiful morning to you, Honourable Mana. Well, to be very honest, the first thing I wanted to ask you was about the weather in Akwa Ibom State. If it was raining in Akwa Ibom.
It's raining very heavily now, and honestly, I'm just praying that nothing happens to my connection, because it's raining very heavily here this morning.
Indeed. Yes. I'm sure that the grass in Akwa Ibom will suddenly be getting very green this morning.
Yeah, it's green all over.
Well, you know, you have worked with the current Senate president. You worked with him while he was governor of Akwa Ibom State, and you were commissioner for information under him. What sort of Senate president do you imagine that he might make? Now you've had experience in the National Assembly, you understand how it works. It's very different from how people exercise executive power. This is about being first among equals. Looking at whatever agenda that the National Assembly has set for itself, what sort of leader do you imagine that the Senate president might make, regardless of the fact that you're now in separate parties?
Yes, thank you very much, Mark. We're being in separate parties does not take away the fact that we have a relationship as a boss and a staff and as a brother. So it's my big brother, so I respect him always and all the time. But let me start first by congratulating the National Assembly in the seamless emergence of the leadership of first the chairman of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, who is the Senate President, and of course his deputy, distinguished Senator Jibril Barrow, and by going next to the House of Representatives, the Right Honourable Tajuddin Abbas and Right Honourable Benjamin Okezie Carlo. That process was very smooth, no matter what anybody thinks or how they want to look at it. They voted. Members voted and elected their leader, so I congratulate them. And I also believe they're bringing in varied experiences to bear in the management of the two chambers. Coming back to your question, I think the Senate President has varied experiences from the corporate world to the executive to the legislature and now back to the legislature. So I think he has all it takes to manage that, to take that responsibility and manage that function very well. D2 for the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He's been long enough in the House of Representatives and is quite experienced. He has good legislative backgrounds and good legislative credentials within his pockets, and in his brain. So I think they will do well. But situating properly the role of the executive and that of the legislature, truth is that government remains government, even where the arms are different. Constitutionally, the National Assembly saddled with quite a number of responsibilities, and of course, principal among them is lawmaking, representation, and oversight. And of course, going to the Senate President as a former governor and as a former senator and a former commissioner, clearly he has enough experience as far as when it comes to governance issues, and of course, institutional knowledge of the environment, both at the executive and in the legislature. So I believe that will count for him very significantly and greatly, in fact, perhaps even more than those who have only one part of the experience. One part of the experience isn't enough. So as you can see, as a former governor, there's no way he would not be able to tackle policy issues, executive issues, and understand the lines and thinking of government as very quickly than anyone else would have thought. And then looking also at the legislature, he's also had experience right there. So I think this will all come together to play well for the country and for the smooth administration of the legislature, and more importantly, for the relationship between the legislature and the executive.
That then raises the question, Honourable. I mean, you are not unaware of that letter, of course, from the first question that Chamberlain asked you. So how then do you see that, how do I put it, drama or quagmire playing out? The PDP has written a letter to the President of the Senate. Your party wrote a letter to him as chairman of the National Assembly and president of the Senate, and all of that accusation is there warning him, essentially. So he's been a member of the PDP, he is now a member of the APC, he is president of the Senate, he has been governor before, and PDP says they haven't, made some moves. Some are saying that there is someone already contesting for the minority leadership and all those things. Meanwhile, the accusation that the APC is also making some subterranean moves from what the letter said. How do you see him navigating, those waters, particularly in the Senate where he directly leads?
No, I believe they'll navigate through the waters and get the matters resolved. Clearly so. And it will be sorted out right there on the floor of the Senate as they resume today, I believe. I also expect that certain very key decisions will have to be made today. I expect that the leadership composition should be made known today in plenary, both in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. So I'm sure that they will sort that out. I also believe the political parties and the Senate and the leadership.
Pardon me, Honourable. Do you see any value in that letter that the PDP wrote? If you say, as you say, very, very confidently that the President of the Senate is going to handle it so easily and very well, do you see any value in the letter from the PDP, given that the PDP is not the only minority party in the National Assembly?
Yeah, there is value, but clearly the PDP has the largest minority senators next to the APC that is in the majority. So obviously, they would want, as a political party, to be the next in line in making choices for the leadership. So clearly, and they are right in making their push, because the political party must also defend the interests of its members and its people, as it's always been. But again, the politics of the chambers will play out when they reconvene this morning.
Looking closely, a bit more closely at the numbers, even though the PDP has 36 senators in, the Senate, and the PDP has 117 members, add to that all the others from the other political parties in the House of Reps and in the Senate. Do you see the opposition party producing the Senate majority leader, the Senate leader, the Senate minority leader, the chief whip, and at the lower chamber as well, at the House of Representatives? Do you see the opposition producing leaders in these key offices?
So clearly, there are key offices that are reserved there for the majority party. Of course, the Senate leadership will obviously go to the majority party who have the numbers. So it's also it's very clear. And the minority position remains for the minority parties. So that upturn may be very difficult to achieve, may be clearly difficult.
I ask is because the opposition parties, provided an explanation after the election of the Senate President and the Deputy Senate President, the House of Reps Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, to the effect that they were unable to reach a decision. That was why they couldn't produce, at least, the other positions, the deputy positions. Do you see the freshness of the lawmakers affecting their inability to wield their independence in the elections that were conducted just about a fortnight ago? And do you see that lack of ability to wield independence affecting this round of elections as well?
Clearly so, of course. I see the parliament is a business of rank. Ranking is very essential in the parliament, and that's why even the principal officers and so on come out of the ranking members. Of course, you also have a lot of, how do I put it, let me say, newness of thoughts, and of course not being so conversant with the internal politicking and the environment. So the old members obviously will understand the game more and understand how to navigate the waters of the politics. But clearly, it was a business of the majority. And of course, they had taken a position, the majority party had taken its position, and of course was able to, with its members, to stand by its position and support its position. So clearly, there's not much anyone could have done about it. You could see in the House of Representatives, it was a very clear winning for the Right Honourable Dr. Tajuddin Abbas. It was very clear. You also saw in the Senate, yes, it was, even though there was a good contest, but Senator Agbo won and won clearly well. And so, meaning he had the support. He had the support of his party and had the support of his colleagues in the Senate. In the House, it was an overwhelming ride for the Right Honourable Dr. Tajuddin Abbas and Benjamin Okezie-Carlo. So the issue of this turning around of members and so on and so forth is a big issue, even for the institutional memory of the parliament, even for the knowledge of parliamentary work. It's a big issue in our country. And I hope that we get to a point that we'll be able to manage these things and say that we cannot invest so much in people and in brains and in experiences, and we just have them thrown in the backwater, and then we have a new set of people learning. In the next 3-4 years now, we now have another set. For me, this time around, particularly in the House of Representatives, over 290. So you can see that from 360, there may probably be not more than 70 people who have institutional knowledge of the place, or who even have the right background and backing to help them navigate the processes. That is not to say that those who are coming are completely have nothing in their brains. No, that's not what I'm saying, because they may also have different experiences, maybe from the state assemblies and from various positions that they have held. But when you get into the National Assembly, you will understand that the microcosm of Nigeria comes to play within those two chambers, and you get to understand how this country really works.
Right, we've since been joined by Honourable Dennis Agbo. He's a member of the 10th Assembly, and he belongs to the Labour Party. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, I know you're looking forward to resuming today to see how things will play out on the floor of the House. But what is it now, as your party, what is the current scenario? Because, I mean, here we are talking about PDP trying to caution the President of the Senate. Don't announce a list that we haven't sanctioned because we've not met. What is the situation with the Labour Party in terms of principal positions in the House of Reps? Who are they aligning with, or what are they thinking?
Well, thank you, good morning, Nigerians. The struggle is also on in the House of Representatives. And the pressure is mounting on the minority parties. The influence of the executive through their majority presiding officers can be seen. How far the minority parties will sustain or resist the pressure remains to be seen. The pressure is on in the House of Representatives, clearly. You can see different interests, different persons from the minority running for an office, laying claims to support of members, parading lists and letters. These things are going on.
Were you sent any copy?
Any
copy of any such list? Did you see your signature anywhere yet?
What is happening at the party and what is happening at the National Assembly seems to have some gap. I am a candidate for the Deputy Minority Leader, which is soon to Labour Party. But between the party and the House, everything is not exactly the same.
What's the difference?
The difference is that 3 people are running for the office, and many of us are laying claims to
a minority leader?
Deputy Minority Leader, which is zoned to Labour Party.
Okay.
3?
Only 3 of us.
Wow.
Only 2 of us, because are ranking members in Labour Party. The rest of the 32 members are new members.
So is it that the party, who is the party supporting, and how is it playing out in the House of Reps? Because you see they're different.
I stand here, I will tell you the party is supporting me, but I have also seen some people showing letters that the party is supporting them. But just like the last discussant said, the party's support has to be confirmed with members' nomination. Because at the end of the day, it is the members that will nominate that will elect their. So if you have lists of members saying they have endorsed this person, that seems to be very valid. But members can nominate somebody or sign for him, later change their mind, sign for another person, later change their mind.
I'm coming. Fickle.
and because there are letters, there are endorsements that you call it. and you can say, okay, I've been endorsed. The members will change their mind and endorse another person again. So the person comes with the same name, the same list that contains people who had even endorsed you. I said this pressure is on, but somehow they'll be sorted out.
Take a look. Talk us through this, the representation in the House of Reps, in terms of how the parties are spread with their members. We know that, yes, the APC, 179 positions, even though the seat of the Surulere is, but it is still, well, the party was the one occupying that position. 177? No.
177.
Is it not 178 for APC, and then for PDP, that's 2 seats, APC and PDP, isn't it? That has to be filled. From this, the one for the House of Reps.
It's not the
what is this different?
APC doesn't have, they have 177.
Okay.
Then that's even including the
vacant one,
former speaker that has left now. It should be down to like 176. The minority parties put together used to have 182 because one person had died. Now we have 2 absent members now because of the resignation.
So the Labour still has 35.
35, yes.
Then SDP still has 2. NNPP still has 19.
Yeah.
So
PDP has 116 or something like that.
Okay, because of that one that is supposed to come through from Taraba.
Yes.
So how are you playing with all of this? Are you reaching out to any one of them to give you support?
What we have done in the House of Representatives is it makes the job a little bit easier for us. We have sat in the minority caucus and we have zoned positions to parties. PDP is the majority of the minority. So they have been zoned the minority leader, and then the minority whip. Labour Party has been zoned the deputy minority leader, while NNPP has been zoned the deputy minority whip.
So what I'm interested in is, over this 2-week recess, which members took, I imagine, to go and get set properly for, to resume sittings. What was the expectation of, let's say, of the House, of the leadership of the National Assembly that members will be up to in the 2 weeks that they're away? Is it that they're supposed to be looking for the legislative aids? Is it that precisely what are the expectations that were given, and do you think that from your own assessment, would some of those expectations have been met?
Okay. I wasn't in the last assembly, but I am not very pleased that right now offices are still being allocated. The last assembly terminated on the 13th of June. And then we sat for 2 days and went on recess. Quickly, that should have been, all the things about offices and accommodations would have been tidied up. That is still being tidied up as we speak.
So members do not have their offices yet?
Not many members have ready offices. I don't have, for instance. So, members had to go back to their constituencies. Some went to say thank you for voting me because we have finally been inaugurated.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that.
Yes, a lot of that happened. Those who don't have their programs very ready, now the inauguration has been done, you have to hit the ground running, you have to go and tidy up. So you have your personal staff, even if you are not working from your official office or allocated office, you have your private office, you go and tidy up your programs and get ready, because even those who want to begin to bring motions and bills, you have to go and get those things ready. We are not doing that. We are not doing those things from the allocated offices. We are doing them from our private offices. Okay. So those things are being done. Things are being tidied up. Visits are being made. Thank you visits and all of that. And programs are being given a more concrete plan. Well, let me take myself as an example. I have 2 key programs on water and on economic empowerment through agriculture. Now, on that water, you have to now go and start, you want to acquire a rig. How am I going to fund this? How much does it cost? Who is going to operate the rig? And how does the cost of this actually compare with, hiring a rig from? Because I now want to give water in many communities, I now want to acquire a rig. So I've done all those analysis and I've decided about what I'm going to do. Who's going to operate it with the operators and the consumables I want to do? How,
That is interesting. I mean, that's not exactly about lawmaking. That is more around maybe a constituency project, yes, which you hope to execute.
But that is key. That is key. If you stay and make laws and you don't impact on the welfare and well-being of your constituents, you are already home before you start. That is the truth. So you need to. That's why we have what they call constituency running costs, and that's why we have the opportunity of influencing the purse, the budget. So you need to understand what your people need and then be able to navigate to get those things into the budget or to implement them also through your running costs.
How would you say your previous experiences helped you in knowing precisely how quickly you should get ready?
Yeah. I think, without sounding immodest, I as a first-time person then, I did well. But I have acquired all those experiences. Like right now, you see contractors coming to you, putting pressure, and I know how much I'll do with a contractor and how much I will not do with a contractor. I know how much I'm able to do as a legislator and how much I'm not able to do. But people who have not had that experience, they are trying to, clear those untidy areas. You speak to a contractor, what do you tell the contractor who is trying to put pressure on you? What can you do even with a contractor? Are you the executive? How much can you influence some of these things? These things are happening, to speak.
All right, let's go to our colleagues in Lagos.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Honourable Agbo, I'd like you to talk about, what's at stake, that's the word, for these key offices, why there's such a contention for them. Is it, the possibility or the potential of attracting these constituency projects that you talk about, or are there other extra, allowances and perks that come with these key offices? Perhaps that's the reason that the political parties, influence it to such a large extent that some of these offices must come to their own lawmakers. Talk us through this.
Thank you. In leadership, there are 10 positions in the House. The 2 presiding officers, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, and then the House Leader, Deputy House Leader, the House Minority Whip, House Whip and Deputy Whip. Then you go to the Minority Caucus, you have the Minority Leader, the Deputy Minority Leader, and then Whip and Deputy Whip. These 10 people make up the leadership of the House. They take decisions as to the direction the House will go. So when they sit in there, each person is trying to influence the direction the House goes. It is different from what you are trying to do as an individual, as a legislator, trying to do things for your constituency. But that will be subsumed under what decision has been taken and the direction the House is now facing. So those who chart that direction are key. So it is important that people show interest in who gets what. Now, when your people have come out and made and cast their votes, supported you massively, taking a new direction, maybe joined a new political party, there is something you take home to them and say, this is what we have also been able to join the leadership of the House. So the struggle is not unnecessary. It is important that people are trying to get themselves. Now, don't forget that a lot of things that you see play out on the floor of the House a lot of activities have taken place behind the scene by these people who are leaders of the House and the Senate. People are interested in being part of that leadership so that they can also influence the general direction of the House, generally.
I wonder if you have really told us all of the ramifications, but let's leave that aspect and talk about, other things. Even though the PDP has 117, all of the other opposition parties combined have, a majority above the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, particularly in the House of Representatives. Don't you think that the opposition this time around in electing the other key principal officers of the National Assembly can pull their weight in terms of block voting such that they can at least get a number of principal officers elected from the opposition party instead of settling for deputy leader and deputy whip?
No, you don't understand me. I said that in the minority caucus, you have the leader, minority leader, and deputy minority leader. It's not that the whole minority caucus does not settle for deputy positions. No. The minority positions are 4. The majority positions are 4. The presiding positions are 2. So in the minority positions, you have the minority leader, deputy minority leader, minority whip, deputy minority whip. Okay. Now, that's 1. 2 is that we have gone beyond whether they could produce a presiding officer. We have gone beyond that. We are now facing the 4 minority positions for the minority caucus. Now, like I said, they have been zoned. The last time I was here, I explained why, even though they had the majority, they could not. It was not easy for them to produce, for the minority caucus, for us, not them, for us to produce the presiding positions. And of course, immediately the minority party begins to produce the presiding positions, the ruling party begins, or the government in power begins to feel some kind of discomfort, and then the fight will start too early. So along the line, because...
Honourable, my apologies. It will seem like members of the National Assembly, pardon me for butting in, it will seem like the National Assembly has its job cut out for it, no doubt, and but just for the exigency of time, let me ask Honourable Umana this one question before we take it back to my colleagues in Abuja. Well, Honourable, listening to Honourable Agbo, and in the light of what a number of sources have said, including the former president of the Senate, that 70% of the people who are going into the National Assembly do not have institutional memory. They are new, never been in the National Assembly before. And listening to Honourable Agbo saying that he has 1 or 2 programs of his own, there are those who would wonder whether or not that is a task of the executive, or as Markwe asked, something that is not strictly a legislature function, but that of the executive, which will maybe influenced by the member of the legislature, but not the function that they are supposed to carry out. So in the light of that, 70% of them are new, having expectations of influencing one thing or the other for their constituencies. Do you think a good number of them understand exactly what is expected of them as legislators?
Well, thank you very much. I think, like I said earlier, the primary responsibility of a legislator, constitutional responsibility of a legislator, is lawmaking, representation, and oversight, amongst others. Yes, issues of advocacy and interventions here and there, yes, but that's the key constitutional responsibility to lawmaking, representation, and oversight. So clearly, people come to the National Assembly with varied hopes and expectations, but quite clearly they will come to discover that it's not exactly what people thought before they came there. Looking at the issue of functions like my brother and colleague, once a legislator, colleagues for life, did say, yes, there are varied expectations that people have at the constituency level. People sometimes are not able to separate the role of the legislator or the legislature and the executive. They believe the job of the legislature is also going to bring projects, bring empowerment, bring all that, and so on. And like that, he did say, sometimes if you fail in handling this, you become a bad man outright. These huge expectations, people. So sometimes legislators in this parliament will have to veer off what they are supposed to be doing. Some of the core responsibilities of researching into legislations, looking at areas of improvement in the quality of laws, areas of amendments and repeals and so on, pursue basic things that they can take back to their people so they can empower them, for them to feel that, well, they have someone in that place. So you have to be careful in managing these roles, so that at the end of the day, you strike a balance between expectations and your core responsibilities. But you must clearly do both if you want to be known as a legislator in this part of the world. That is the unfortunate thing. And again, looking at the issue of the turnover, like I said earlier, it's a major issue. You mentioned institutional memory, you mentioned issues of experience and all of that. It is a very important aspect of the business. The man who, the legislator who is speaking, our brother from the Labour Party there, has been in the House of Representatives before. So clearly, he's coming with experience. He's able to also know how to navigate and get certain things done. But the person who is just arriving truly will come to understand that the politics of the National Assembly that is deeper than you are seeing it from the surface. So I think we need that, and we need to strike this balance. But let me add this. Let me add by saying clearly, the moment your focus is just about running around looking for things that you take back, you lose the other part, which is why you were elected. So you need to strike a balance and see what you can do to help your people. But that is not to say that the legislator should now go and look for the work of the member of the executive. The work of the executive is to run government, provide infrastructure, ensure that the society is good enough for everyone, while the legislature is to make law for the good governance of the country and the fair of the
At least we're going to have 50 members of opposition in the Senate who perhaps against 59 other members in the APC, to see what and how all of that will play out. But Honourable Agbo, all of those members in the House, we'll see what happens at the end of the day. So they'll all be going back today, and so we're expected that they will sort out all of those positions this week, so that probably next week they could attend to matters from the executive, I guess. Well, thank you for coming on, and we wish you all the best. Honourable Dennis Agbo is a member of the 10th Assembly. He, as you heard, is vying for putting himself up for that position for the Deputy Minority Leader. And then we also do have had Honourable Aneka Omana, who was a member of the 9th House of Representatives representing the PDP. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on today. All right.
Thank you very much.
We'll be talking about remember the controversy about JAM? Well, that's coming up next. Stay on with us.